What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 396 for your Saturday, November 6th, 2021. I am JD from New York, and this is Off the Script. Thank you so very much for joining me on your Saturday afternoons. And we have a lot to go over today, as usual, as it was probably the busiest week in professional wrestling in many, many weeks. And that has to do primarily with WWE releasing yet another 18 men and women from their active roster on Thursday afternoon in what may be, and I always say that it is, probably one of the more head-scratching, baffling release days I think we've seen yet in WWE. Some of these names just don't make sense. Some of these stories just don't add up. All of what you're about to hear today is quite frankly pathetic. And it goes to show you how little Vince McMahon's team really does know. They know absolutely nothing about creating new stars. They know nothing about writing compelling television. The only thing that they know, the only things that they know are how to bend a knee and bow to Vince McMahon and give him everything that he wants. And the other thing that they care most about, it's not about wrestling, it's not about the roster, it's not about writing compelling television and competing legitimately with AEW creatively. They only care about the money that the WWE is making, stuffing their pockets. It is quite sad. The lives of many men and women have been ruined in one sense or another by WWE's negligence, and I am going to blast them, as per usual, today when we go over everything that you guys need to know coming out of Thursday's release day in WWE. So thank you guys very much for joining me on the podcast today. Again, sponsored by my great friends over at Blue Chew. BlueChew.com. You guys are going to use code JD at checkout to get your free sample of the service. All you guys have to do is pay the $5 shipping and handling. Confidence goes a long way, especially in the bedroom, and that's where Blue Chew is going to come into play. BlueChew.com. You guys are going to use code JD at checkout for your FREE sample. Make sure you guys follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Make sure you guys also hit that join button. When you guys hit that join button, you are becoming a member of the VIP room right here on Off the Script. You guys get custom badges to show off your VIP status. You guys get those custom emojis to use in every single sense of the word in the live streams, in the comment section. So make sure you guys hit that join button and join the family right here on Off the Script. And what a family we have assembled thus far. So continue to join the channel and support. If you guys missed any of the videos on the channel, any of the live streams on the channel, it was a big week for Off the Script. Monday, we did Raw. Tuesday, I didn't do anything because I was watching the Braves win the World Series. Wednesday, we did Dynamite and the live post show with Jesse as usual. Thursday, we did a mega live stream emergency episode of Off the Script. Over 50,000 views already. Nearly 4,000 likes on the video. You guys absolutely killed it on Thursday afternoon. Makes me think that WWE should release more and more superstars every 6 months. I don't want that to happen. I'm just speaking sarcastically. But what you guys did was show up in big numbers, and I'm glad you made me a destination on Thursday night, talking about literally everything and everyone about the WWE releases. Go and check that out. And Friday, we were live on YouTube with the Smackdown and Rampage post show. Eddie Kingston and CM Punk were the talk of the town on Friday night. Absolutely incredible segments between those two as they are getting ready for a one-on-one match next Saturday at Full Gear, which is probably my most anticipated match of the entire night, just based on what those two guys did and what they said on Rampage. Awesome stuff there. Go and check all that stuff out. Live on the homepage right now. It is category in different playlists, so make sure you guys go and check that out. And everything you need is right there on the homepage. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Make sure you guys go and check that out. Great way to support. We got those dugout mugs still available. We got the Are We Live t-shirts. They are still available. We got the Off the Script hats. They are now newly available, all exclusively for patrons over at the Patreon page, patreon.com/JD from NY206. And if you guys need your t-shirts, man, Bonfire is the exclusive home of Off the Script. Make sure you guys check underneath the video player. Everything listed there are the top sellers on the Off the Script shop on Bonfire. Click the shirt design you want. It'll take you right to the official website. That is bonfire.com, the exclusive home of Off the Script. And a little side note, next Friday, being that Off the Script is listened to by a lot of people, hopefully you guys get this newsflash. Next Friday, I will not be doing a Smackdown and Rampage post show right before Full Gear. House of Glory will be in New York City. They will be in Queens, to be exact, and they are returning after a 2-year hiatus. I will be doing commentary there with Jason Solomon, a.k.a. the Solomon Monster. I will not be doing a live stream on Friday night, as the show is taking place Friday night at 8 p.m. right here in Queens. So make sure you guys mark that on your calendar. If you want me to do a live stream the next day about SmackDown and Rampage, I will maybe think about it. Let me know what you guys think. If it's not that big of a deal, I just won't do anything, and I'll see you guys for the Full Gear post show on Saturday night with Jesse. But if you guys want something coming out of SmackDown and Rampage, just sound off in the comments below. And obviously, you guys can follow me on Twitter at JD from NY206 and really voice your opinions there. Let me know what you guys want to see in regards to next Friday. Can't wait to get back to work with House of Glory, see the roster, be around that energy, and do what I love to do, and that is tell stories and do commentary with Solomon. So should be a big, big deal. Let's start at the top, man. We're going to get right into the WWE releases, but I have a couple of stories that were lingering about, and I want to go over them first before we get into Thursday's debacle and failure, once again, by WWE Creative. Now, I mentioned this on Friday, and I don't know how many people listened to the Friday night show, or how many people picked up on this, or how many people are actually wondering, what is going on with the Survivor Series build? Why hasn't there been a Survivor Series build on WWE television? Have they gotten lazier as the year goes on? Do they even care about Survivor Series at all anymore? Are they still doing the Raw versus SmackDown theme in New York City in what is just a little over 2 weeks for Survivor Series at the Barclays Center? WWE has a specific reason why they haven't started promoting the Survivor Series. Now, it was noted in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter that there has been no promotion yet for the Survivor Series pay-per-view, even though it was scheduled just over 2 weeks from now in New York City at the Barclays Center. I've been mentioning this for the last 2 or 3 weeks myself. Where is the build? The build should have started coming out of Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. Now, it is assumed that the top matches will feature the following: Big E, the WWE Champion, versus Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion; Charlotte Flair, the SmackDown Women's Champion, versus Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion. We have Shinsuke Nakamura, the Intercontinental Champion, versus Damian Priest, the United States Champion. And we have 2 sets of tag team champions. We got RK Bro on Monday Night Raw, and we got the Usos on SmackDown. Those are your big 4 matches on top of the men's and women's Survivor Series matches, which right now have no teams and no captains at all for either team and either brand. Now, WWE is just assuming that we know it's Raw versus SmackDown. They haven't really mentioned anything about it being Raw versus SmackDown. Nobody knows if WWE is going to change the rules this year. WWE thinks that the fans know just based on the matches that we've seen in previous years, but it's not our job to go and devise a plan and devise a card on our own. It's your job to tell us what exactly is going on and who is going to be taking part in these matches. Now, in the original ads for the show, it was mentioned that it was Raw versus SmackDown. I believe they did something at Crown Jewel, if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like, according to Meltzer, that they are staying with the brand rivalry theme this year, even though it doesn't make any sense. Nobody cares about allegiance towards Raw or allegiance towards SmackDown, and that really takes a hit in the credibility department because you moved people to different brands just a month ago. So how could they be loyal if they were on Monday Night Raw all this year up until about 3 or 4 weeks ago? Then they got drafted to SmackDown. How are they going to be, I guess, allegiant to SmackDown? Or how are they going to be, Team SmackDown? It doesn't really work that way. How are they going to show their allegiance towards one brand when they've been on the other brand for the duration of this year, outside of 3 weeks because of the WWE draft? It doesn't really make any sense. This is why I've always stated that the draft should take place after WrestleMania. That would give them ample enough time to really build some credibility between the Raw and SmackDown theme. But nothing in WWE seems important, and they make it feel that way. If they don't care, then how am I supposed to care? How are you supposed to care? I don't really understand the logic in this company with management. It's certainly not the way I would do things. Now, Meltzer noted in The Observer that the mentality within the company is that they pushed the Crown Jewel show so hard that they wanted to really start putting over new feuds and have the new rosters settle on television before eventually pushing the pay-per-view in the final weeks heading into New York City. Big E right now is scheduled to feud with Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, and Reigns has not mentioned Big E on SmackDown at all. Nothing was mentioned about Big E. The only thing that I could possibly see after last night's SmackDown was WWE planting seeds for Big E to show up on SmackDown and confront Roman Reigns, and the post-match attack on SmackDown last night in the main event is going to lead Big E going over to SmackDown and saying something to Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. But that would be, you're cutting it close there. You're pretty much cutting it close. Now, I understand Survivor Series doesn't mean a lot, but a Big E versus Roman Reigns match could be a big deal if you give it enough time to build. And what does that say, additionally, about what WWE thinks about Big E? You're pretty much setting Big E up for the biggest match of his fucking life. And you're not really doing anything to build around that. You're pretty much having Big E go into the Roman Reigns match as somebody that the fans already know is not credible enough, and he's not going to beat Roman Reigns. If you gave me enough build and you gave me some story within the 5 weeks that you should have been building Survivor Series, you might change the tide on what people think about Big E and Roman Reigns, because as of right now, you've done nothing to make me believe Big E is going to beat Roman Reigns. And that's all I ask. I'm not asking for you to have Big E beat Roman Reigns. I'm asking for you to at least fucking try. But we're not in the business of storytelling here in WWE. WWE thinks we're a bunch of fucking idiots. They've let us down. They let Survivor Series down. They let Big E down. It's not really right. And I actually take offense to that, because Survivor Series should be one of the biggest shows of the year, and you've made it no better than a fucking D-level pay-per-view. No wonder nobody is interested in buying a fucking ticket to sit there watching this steaming pile of garbage. So Big E starting a feud with Seth Rollins. They figured that's more important than building Big E versus Roman Reigns, who Roman Reigns right now is the biggest guy in all of pro wrestling. Yeah, it really makes sense. Meltzer added, additionally, how UFC has shown that the last few days of hype to hype a show, You don't really need to do much to drive interest towards a pay-per-view event. But the difference is between UFC and WWE is that UFC's covered on nationally televised sports broadcasts. ESPN, Fox Sports, your local weekly news during the sports segment. UFC is much more mainstream and much more popular than WWE. They are not UFC, and they should not be taking the same steps as UFC. Nobody gives a shit about WWE. The only time WWE is covered on a sports center is when you have somebody like Ronda Rousey come into play and do her thing on WWE television, or a Brock Lesnar if something is big enough where Brock Lesnar's needing to be covered on SportsCenter, or Gable Steveson will probably be covered on a SportsCenter based on how he fared in the Olympics this year. Nobody covers WWE because of its popularity. Nobody gives a shit about WWE. So you're taking the road that UFC usually takes, but how many more millions of people actually buy a UFC pay-per-view compared to a WWE pay-per-view? Are they even on traditional pay-per-view anymore? I think so, but nobody's going to go out and willingly buy a $70 WWE pay-per-view when you can pay $4.99 on Peacock and watch the fucking show. And that's what it boils down to. WWE, they don't need to do any hype going into these shows. They don't. They got Peacock's money, they got NBC Universal's money, and that's all they give a shit about. Peacock doesn't know any better. NBC Universal doesn't know any better. And it's a slimy fucking tactic, but that's what WWE does. Oh, we're already paid for the next 5 years from NBC Universal. Fuck Survivor Series. $4.99? That means we don't have to put any effort into building Survivor Series, which means WWE doesn't want to make their product better and actually compete creatively with AEW. It's quite the sad situation that WWE thinks they're in the league of UFC. No, you're not. No, you're not. Start building your fucking shows and stop being lazy. That's all I want is for you to try. Is that so difficult to fucking ask? I don't really get what WWE's mentality is. Would they do this for another show like a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam? In most cases, yes, but not to this extent. We've got no teams, no captains, no matches announced, and everybody is complaining in WWE why Survivor Series isn't selling out. I'm sorry you couldn't get Dwayne to show up at Survivor Series to build his match with Roman Reigns that you've wanted for the last 3 years. I'm sorry. Don't use that as an excuse to not build one of your biggest shows of the year. If WWE actually took the steps to make the fucking draft and the brand split feel important and not ruin it and go back on their ruling whenever the fuck they wanted to change shit, then maybe people would actually care. But they don't. So you are all to blame. Speaking of Survivor Series, Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, I just mentioned, is going to be one of the top matches at the show. Supposedly. There is backstage news on why WWE is not disciplining Charlotte Flair for the incident with Becky Lynch. Now, there was a note in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, and Meltzer talked about Charlotte Flair not getting punished for going off script or off the script, wink, wink, a couple of weeks ago during her segment with Becky Lynch on Friday Night Smackdown. The feeling is that the company is in a tricky situation because Flair is not the only guilty party. A WWE source said the following to Dave Meltzer, and I quote, "Charlotte is a tricky situation, not just because she's a star in a division with very few stars, but because she's not only the guilty party. Discipline and punishing her, and you have to discipline quite a few people," end quote. So what that means to me is WWE, if they punish Charlotte, then they're going to have to punish Becky Lynch. WWE, if they punish Charlotte and Becky Lynch, then they'd have to punish Sonya Deville if the reports are to be believed that Sonya Deville wanted to fight Charlotte legitimately backstage after that particular episode of SmackDown. And if those three women have to be disciplined, who's to say WWE swept things under the rug with Sasha Banks when she wants to throw a tirade, and rightfully so, about what she feels strongly about, or walking away, or whatever other attitude problems that she had with Alexa Bliss. You know, that shit is swept under the rug. Now that's a few years in the past. But WWE can't punish Charlotte without punishing Becky Lynch. WWE can't punish Charlotte and Becky Lynch without punishing Sonya Deville. So yes, they're in a tricky situation. Becky Lynch is just as guilty as Charlotte Flair. She thinks who the fuck she is. WWE, they've done nobody any favors with what is going on here. They've done nobody any favors with the way they've booked these women. They've done nobody any favors with the way they've treated the women's championships and the storylines and the laziness of the Queen's Crown tournament. Nobody is over. So when I hear that they're in a sticky or a tricky situation because they have so little few stars, whose fault is that? I'm tired of reading reports. Oh, they have few little stars. I'm sorry. What about the fucking 80% of the roster that is sitting in the back waiting for a fucking opportunity? Do you expect them to just show up on fucking television without a goddamn plan? Why don't you get up off your ass and do your job and creatively write? You should have the next Charlotte Flair already in place. You should have the next Sasha Banks, the next Bayley, the next Becky Lynch already in place. No, but Bianca Belair has been stifled about 3 different fucking times already, and nobody gives a shit about Bianca Belair. Same thing goes for Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley should have been on her way to being the next Becky Lynch, and now she's hanging out with a fucking comic book geek that flies around in a fucking cape and a goddamn butterfly mask. Yeah, great job. Great job. You gotta be absolutely out of your fucking mind. That's like taking Cannibal Corpse and putting them in concert with fucking Good Charlotte. You fucking serious? The two worlds don't mix in this situation. Rhea Ripley is another fucking case for an entirely different video dedicated to her only. What a fucking disaster Rhea Ripley has turned out to be. She is a fucking bum. And none of it's her fault. To be honest with you, none of it is her fault. They have few little stars. Whose fault is that, Bruce? Coming from the guy that said women's wrestling doesn't sell, right? Now, Bruce Pritchard doesn't sell. Whatever the fuck he's selling stinks like shit. WrestlingNews.co was told earlier this week that there had been several backstage incidents over the past year that did not involve Charlotte Flair, and there were no repercussions, so this may be the reason why Flair is not getting punished. As previously noted, Flair strayed from the script on the 10/22 episode of Smackdown when she dropped the Raw Women's title instead of handing it over to Becky Lynch. Backstage, Lynch confronted Flair, and shortly after, Sonya Deville was so upset that she reportedly wanted to fight Flair as well. Flair was back on TV a week later. Ridiculous. Nobody's going to be disciplined. They're not taking Charlotte Flair off of television. They're not taking Becky Lynch and Sonya Deville off of television. They have nobody to replace those women at all. At all. That means WWE would have to push somebody like a Liv Morgan or a Toni Storm or a Tegan Nox or a Shotzi Blackheart. You guys know they don't want to do that because that means building new stars. WWE wants to bury new stars and push who they want. They want to push who they think are stars or bigger stars than they really think they are. Let's get into these releases, man. There's a lot to really unwrap about these releases. It all started with a major WWE office departure that the mentality shifted during the week to a no one is safe mentality, and more releases were expected after this particular office employee, upper management employee, a vice president of creative services, to be exact. He was gone after 15 years. I believe his name was Stan Stansky, and his exit was described by someone in WWE as so shocking, and it proves as the ultimate proof that no one is safe, and another reminder that this isn't the same company that it was a year ago. Stansky worked as the vice president of creative services after being hired in 2006 and then was promoted to senior vice president in 2012. Stansky's LinkedIn profile described his position as the following. So this is what they actually fired from the company. Executive creative director with outstanding success in the entertainment industry, currently the head of WWE's internal creative agency. I provide leadership for the ideas, creative development, and execution of the global marketing, television properties, streaming service, sales, consumer products, live events, and all creative branding initiatives for WWE and of its subsidiary brands worldwide. End quote. It was reported that more departures would be on the way, and that was exactly the case as we saw on Thursday. It's clear that no one in WWE is safe, and that extends to the people very high up in the company. WWE, as you guys know, made record cuts this year and last year at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. And while there was no indication that more talent releases are coming, when this report broke, we saw that on Thursday that more talent was let go, 18 to be exact. Nothing should shock anybody at this point. The latest cuts came just hours before the latest earning report that came out in the morning on Thursday. This is a name of the list, or names on the list of people cut by WWE on Thursday. Scarlett Bordeaux, Ember Moon, Taya Valkyrie, a.k.a. Frankie Monet, Oni Lorcan, Karrion Kross, B-Fab, Gran Metalik, Jeet Rama, Katarina Cortez, Trey Baxter, Lindsay Dorado, Nia Jax, Keith Lee, Eva Marie, Mia Yim, Harry Smith, a.k.a. the son of the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, Zayda Ramir, and Jesse Kamea. Those are the names released by WWE on Thursday. Now, Mick Foley, he says the recent WWE releases are downright baffling. And I don't really agree with a lot of what Mick Foley says nowadays. But the last couple of times he's actually made his statements public, he's been 100% spot on in what the man has said. For the past few months, WWE has been releasing several superstars. Mick Foley has obviously talked about a lot of this. Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Chelsea Green, Mickie James. He's talked about a lot of this. He once again took to his Facebook page and wrote a post where he commented on WWE's latest slew of releases. I think the last time we saw Mick Foley speak about something regarding the company, it might have been Karrion Kross, it might have been Keith Lee, or a mix of just NXT talent that was called up from NXT going to the main roster and them not being used properly, or the fact that WWE feels the need to change. I know he's been very outspoken about the way WWE's handled Rhea Ripley, as he's a big fan of Rhea Ripley. Mick Foley went on Facebook and said the following about the releases, mentioned that they are baffling, and he drew a lot of attention to Karrion Kross and Keith Lee being released. He says this, and I quote, "Baffling. It's never pleasant to hear that people have been released from their contracts in WWE, but some of Thursday's releases are downright baffling. I believe there is a silver lining in that there has never been a better time to be a wrestler with so many different opportunities out there. In the case of Karrion Kross, it does not take a genius to see that he will be reunited with Scarlett and instantly become one of the hottest duos in the business. Ultimately, WWE is supposed to make the people they hire more interesting, not less. But does anyone think that Keith Bearcat Lee was more interesting than the Keith Lee we saw in NXT or on the independent scene? For that matter, I thought Mia Yim was a better developed and more effective character as Jade in TNA than she was in NXT or WWE. Who exactly looked at Taya Valkyrie and thought she needed a name change or a dramatic shift in character either? Anyway, I'm really wishing the very best for everyone who suddenly, and in many cases surprisingly, found themselves out of work on Thursday. Some things just don't make sense. It is very difficult to disagree with everything that he said there, and that was the simplest way for anybody to put it. We talked about this on Thursday. Scarlett and Kross and Keith Lee, clearly the two biggest names on this list, are two of the most baffling releases, I think, in the entire pandemic era of WWE that they've let go. I don't really understand how you look at Scarlett and Karrion Kross in NXT and what Triple H came up with as far as a visual presentation and a complete package with what Triple H and his team worked on. I don't know how you look from a main roster perspective, how you look at what was already a perfect package, how you look at that, take it from Triple H well before its expiration date, and then you put it on the main roster and you drastically change everything about him. You take Scarlett away, it ruined the entire presentation. You put Karrion Kross in a mask. The day after he lost the NXT Championship to Samoa Joe, you drastically changed this man's appearance. For what? You bring this guy up in the middle of a fucking title feud with Samoa Joe as NXT champion, and you have him lose to Jeff Hardy in 90 seconds. Then I hear reports of WWE people reaching out to an Andrew Zarian and a Sean Ross Sapp, and these WWE people are complaining about the fans complaining. What's the big deal? It's all about the story and where we're taking the story. The wins and losses and the loss to Jeff Hardy doesn't really matter. Really now? Really now? Where's the fucking story now that he's fucking released? Was that the end story that we were all waiting for? If it's not broken, don't fix it. I said this on night one when this guy was set to make his debut, when we saw the fucking footage leaked from the dark match that he had against Shelton Benjamin. People were like, oh, it's nothing more than a dark match. That's not going to be the presentation they give Karrion Kross on the main roster. Give me a fucking break. I'm sick and tired of people not realizing what the fuck they're watching and who runs this show. They did that for one very specific reason. And this has been the trend ever since Triple H was fully removed from power. Triple H is not in charge of NXT anymore. Triple H is not in charge of NXT 2.0. Shawn Michaels is not in charge of NXT 2.0. Everything that Triple H, look at the roster of NXT 2.0. Look at who is not there anymore from the old NXT that got called up to the main roster and then was unceremoniously terminated. Look at who is left from the Triple H era of NXT. And please open your eyes. This is one of the very last times I'm going to mention this to you on this show. And anytime it's brought up, I'm going to mention it. I am tired of telling people what exactly is going on. They are looking to erase everything that is the Triple H era of NXT. And that could not be more clear than the releases of Karrion Kross and Keith Lee. That could not be more clear than letting Adam Cole go after Bruce Pritchard wanted him to cut his hair, change his name, and be the manager for Keith Lee, a heel Keith Lee. How good would that have worked out for Adam Cole? Now you see why he went to AEW. I don't hear people complaining about Adam Cole and AEW now. Would that be what you want for Adam Cole? There was absolutely no reason to change Karrion Kross whatsoever. They put this guy in a fucking mask. All we heard was, oh, Karrion Kross, he needs to be marketed better. There needs to be a sense of marketability with all the characters on WWE television. I didn't really understand that then, and more so now, I don't understand it. The marketability with Karrion Kross was Scarlett. That was all he needed to get over. All he had to do was very little. She was it. She was the in to being a mainstream main event act. All he had to do was do what Kross does best. Speak when he's able to speak. Look tough, look intimidating, and go out there and be Killer Kross. Apparently, Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon thought otherwise. Do you want to know why they thought otherwise? Because if they took Karrion Kross and Scarlett the way that they were presented, and they know the type of reaction that he got from the internet fans, from the wrestling fans when he came out, he was it. If Kross came out with that entrance on the same show as a Roman Reigns, who are you going to remember by the time you get home more on that show? You're going to remember Roman Reigns doing his acknowledge me shit? Or you're going to remember the character, Karrion Kross, coming out through the smoke with the hot blonde, leading the way, singing his theme music, and the smoke and the lights and the fucking ambiance? That's exactly what you're going to remember. You're not going to remember anything on the show that Vince or Bruce put together, or what Vince and Bruce produced. They took everything away from him because if Triple H and his creation made its way to the main roster the way we remembered it, perfect, then they would have to give Triple H all the credit. You see, it's not something that Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon created. Karrion Kross had nothing to do with Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard. Same thing goes for Keith Lee. Why do you think they changed Keith Lee from what we remember in NXT, which was perfect, to what we saw on the main roster? Theme song changes, clothing and attire changes, in-ring style changes, and then we get Bearcat. Then we get Bearcat Keith Lee. If WWE took an Adam Cole, a Keith Lee, a Karrion Kross from the main roster, or from NXT to the main roster, they would have to give Triple H all the credit for coming up with the future of the company, at least for the next 5 to 10 years. Those guys should have been a staple on WWE television. There was nothing that needed to be changed about any of those guys from what they did in the ring and what they were as far as presentation is concerned. Vince and Bruce needed to put a stamp on it, and then when they put their stamp on it, they thought that they were going to get one over on everybody. Oh, it's going to succeed. Oh, we know what we're doing. Oh, we're doing this, or we're doing that. And then when it didn't get over, then they want to place blame on the fucking pro wrestlers and not place blame on themselves. At some point, it makes me wonder if they did it on purpose or not. And I believe it's a mix of both. They looked at these men and women, and they automatically put it in their heads that they wanted them to fail. They had no desire to push any of these men and women at all, Because if they did, then like I said, Triple H would probably get the credit for their success because that's who trained them in the WWE way. That's who laid the foundation for what they should be in the WWE. Being that it didn't come from Vince and Bruce, they changed it. And just like I've always said, there's internal sabotage from the main roster to whatever Triple H did in the past. They are looking to erase everything that Triple H did with NXT and look at that 2.0 roster. There's nobody on the roster that is remaining outside of Kyle O'Reilly, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa. After that, it is dead. There's nobody there. You got Imperium. They're the tag team champions. You got MSK. I don't know what the future holds for those types of guys, but the NXT that we remember is dead. They are looking to wipe the slate clean of Triple H and everything that he did. They internally sabotaged this man to a point where his legacy is now erased. They scrubbed it from the annals of the company's history. They put this guy in a position to fail. They took all that he worked on, from NXT to all the characters that he developed, and had them fail. It's just a breakdown of everything that happened. This is the moral of the story. This is not some fucking hocus pocus fairy tale. This is not some conspiracy theory. This is exactly what it has become. And now, if you don't believe me, after everything that's already happened, and you don't start opening your eyes to what happened here with Keith Lee and Karrion Kross, you will never understand anything that's yet to come. Because they are not done. Not by a long shot. Karrion Kross did not need a single fucking thing changed about him. Keith Lee did not need a single fucking thing changed about him. And it all stems from Triple H losing to AEW. Otherwise, Keith Lee, with what he did with Roman at the 2019 Survivor Series, getting the handshake of approval from the tribal chief, going into the Royal Rumble and having a standing ovation stare down with Brock Lesnar, how do you fuck that up? How? This guy should have been one of the guys to be Brock Lesnar's legit opponent at a WrestleMania, at a SummerSlam. Keith Lee in some circles could have been built up to take down Roman Reigns, and everybody would have been okay with it. Now we don't have that. Now we don't have it. Absolutely nothing needed to be changed. Nothing. You change this guy's in-ring style to what? More along the lines of a Mark Henry, a Kane, a Big Show. Meanwhile, that's not what brought him to the dance. Why do you need to change something that's not broken? Have Keith Lee go out there, and I've said this for months. Have Keith Lee go out there and beat Keith Lee. Have Keith Lee go out there and do what brought him to the dance. But in some sick, twisted, fucking demented reality, WWE doesn't want Seth Rollins and Keith Lee to be doing the same things. I don't think they really understand how impressive it is for somebody like Keith Lee's size to be doing a fucking Spanish fly off the fucking top rope. That's what people want to see. That's what he's good at. If he's able to do it, why not use it to your advantage and make money off of it? I'm not saying he's got to do that type of shit every match. I'm not saying he couldn't wrestle a slow, methodical style, but you drastically changed this guy to be roar. That's exactly what you thought was best for Keith Lee. I'm telling you, every single week I've said it, the company will never be the way that the consumer wants it to be unless Vince and Bruce are dead. I'm sorry. If you think that's harsh, I don't really give a shit. I'm sick and tired of seeing men and women come and go like these two guys, like a Taya Valkyrie, like an Ember Moon, like a Scarlett, and just be wasted. It's not fun. And if you think this is doing anything for NXT, you are sadly mistaken. The fans, the smart ones, have realized that I'm not going to invest my time in NXT anymore knowing that this is going to be the end result. Why am I going to watch Tuesday night knowing that 6 months from now, somebody that I actually invested my time in is not there anymore? You should all be fucking ashamed of yourselves. You are the worst creative conglomerate in all of professional wrestling. I don't even want to call you professional wrestling. It's a dirty fucking word in WWE. You don't appreciate professional wrestling. Sports entertainment. Yeah, I was entertained by Triple H and what he did. Whatever Vince and Bruce are doing, they're dragging the company through the fucking mud. They're bringing it down, and it's not the leader in professional wrestling anymore. You guys are not even in the same breath as an AEW anymore. And it took AEW 2 years to put you guys and everything you do creatively to shame. You should be using them as a model to make your show better. And here you are releasing everybody that could be a turning point in turning WWE around. For what? For what? As a fan, I'm sick. It's disgusting. Ember Moon, she wasn't going to last at all. I said this from day one. She wasn't going to last with Bruce and Vince running NXT now. This is another reason why everybody's saying Triple H is still in power. Shawn Michaels is running NXT without Triple H being there. You are a bunch of fucking idiots. Ember Moon was on the main roster. They didn't want anything to do with her for whatever reason. She got hurt. She went back to NXT. That's all she needed, was for Vince and Bruce to realize who she was. Oh, she's here now? Goodbye. Makes me wonder why Samoa Joe is still there. Really surprising that Samoa Joe still has a job. Oney Lorcan, he was never going to be a main event guy, but that guy had a lot of upside in what he did and what he brought to the table. Another waste of a fucking talent. Taya Valkyrie, I'll talk about her in a second. Or Frankie Monet, like Mick Foley said, did anybody in the company really believe that she needed a fucking gimmick change? What she did sucked under the Frankie Monet character. It's not her. I don't believe it's her. You tried to make her something into something she's not. Why are you going to take someone that has success elsewhere and then not use what you actually went out there and signed, only to fucking change it and have her start all over again? Give me a break. Give me a break. But she was fired for another reason, which I'll talk about in a second. B-Fab from Hit Row, gone. Whatever the reason is for B-Fab, I have no fucking idea. Grand Metalik, he asked for his release, so I'm not surprised by that at all. Same thing with Lindsay Dorado. They asked for their release. They were granted, so they're probably happier than pigs in shit. Katarina Cortez, Jeet Rama, Trey Baxter, Nia Jax. I don't know what the story is revolving around Nia Jax. Some people are saying that it's a vaccination issue. Some people are saying that she struggled from mental health and asked for additional weeks to get herself right before coming back to work. WWE then fired her after she requested more time to take some time away from mental health. I don't know what the case is, but let's be honest. No matter how fucked up it is that Nia Jax was let go for one of those two reasons, Nia Jax was never, she was never a staple on WWE television that people willingly wanted to watch. She added nothing of value to the show. So I don't know why people are upset about Nia Jax being let go. The reason why she was let go is fucked up. Well, one of those reasons is fucked up. But Nia Jax being let go, believe me, folks, Nia Jax not there is going to make the division, the women's division, a lot better. She added nothing of value at all. Eva Marie, you guys know my stance on that. Good riddance. Mia Yim, Harry Smith, Zeta Ramir, and Jessie Kamea. Mia Yim, obviously engaged to Keith Lee. She did absolutely fucking nothing for a couple of years. Called her up, moved her around. They had no plans to use Mia Yim at all. So those are the names that WWE released on Thursday. WWE discussed releasing all of the veteran talent that was not being used on television, which makes me wonder why some of the people still there are still there. As previously noted, the plan with NXT is to focus more on younger names, with the idea being that they are grooming wrestlers that can stand out at an airport and can eventually headline a WrestleMania pay-per-view. Braun Breaker, Von Wagner, and a few others have been touted behind the scenes by management as names that can become stars on the main roster. In the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, Meltzer reported that there was discussion about cutting almost all of the veteran wrestlers that were not being used on WWE or NXT television right now. Meltzer also stated that there is talk of those being signed in the new year getting only 60-day contracts to see if they improve at all. If they don't show improvements, then they will not get full-time deals. Which brings me to this, and diving a little bit deeper into what I just mentioned there with the 60-day contracts. Alvarez and Lance Storm talked about this on The Observer. And Alvarez said this, and I quote, "I don't know exactly what this entails, but in general, the new idea is that they are going to be heavily evaluating everybody every 6 months from this point forward. I think the idea is we no longer want people to spend 7 years in developmental. So it's going to be like every 6 months, they are going to evaluate you, and if you're not getting better, you are out of there." End quote. Then he continued on a little bit later into the show, and he said, "Everything has changed with this new NXT. They know what they want. It's a certain type of person who works a certain way and talks a certain way and is trained from scratch, and they get better quick, and then they move up or they're out of there. This is the new way that it's going to work. Yes, it's true about vaccination. I heard from multiple sources that there were individuals that were cut on Thursday because they refused to get a vaccination. Clearly, it was not all budget cuts. There were at least a small handful of names on the list that just didn't want to get vaccinated, and the company didn't want to deal with it, and probably many other things as well. That's the story." You know, on one hand, I understand WWE not wanting to have 7 years of developmental for certain people. If you are not on TV by year 7, or if you don't have your character down by year 7, or if you haven't really gotten better in year 7, then by all means, they should not be there. They should not be in the WWE. Nobody wants to wait on somebody for 7 years. But at the same time, and this is what I don't really understand about the WWE model anymore. You know, back when Triple H was running things in NXT, he went out and got a Kevin Owens, a Sami Zayn, a Shinsuke Nakamura, an Adam Cole, a Kyle O'Reilly, a Roderick Strong, a Bobby Fish, a Matt Riddle, a Ricochet, an Aleister Black, and Andrade. He took the top performers in the world at the time, and he gave them all unique identities, and they all worked their own style. Yes, they all have to eventually succumb to the WWE style, but working the WWE style and only the WWE style is not going to really stand out when you are having a large group of people train in the same performance center. That's what made NXT special. This is what I don't understand. And I've said this time and time and time again. Why are you shunning independent professional wrestling? All of your favorites at one point in time on one instance back in the 70s, on the 80s, they came from the territories. The 60s, the 50s, they came from the territories. It's the same way that you see things transpire now. We don't have territories anymore. We have indie promotions all across the United States, all across the globe. WWE is working one style. Meanwhile, what Triple H did was take all these different styles, use what they brought to the table while mixing it with the WWE style. How many of these men and women in the Performance Center are going to stand out working the same way, training the same way, being modeled to work the same way in the ring, doing the same set of moves, working the same WWE style? How many of those people are going to legitimately stand out? How many people are going to actually make it working that type of sameness every single week. I don't want to see the same 7 fucking people work the same style. I want to see different styles. I want to see individuality. I want to see creativity. I want to see something that someone else isn't going to do. We're going to have everybody come out of that performance center doing the same fucking shit, sounding the same fucking way. No, but someone in WWE thinks that's the right model to create superstars. This is why I'm high on Tony D'Angelo. He may work a WWE style at the end of the day. He may be taught a WWE style at the end of the day. But Tony D'Angelo is going to stand out because of his gimmick and his character and his accent and the way he carries himself as far as what that character needs, the way he cuts a promo, the way he dresses, his theme music. Same thing goes for Braun Breaker. I'm not as big or high on Braun Breaker like many people are. I'm going to give him time to develop. But he also stands out, and everybody loves the Steiners. And that's his background, that's his lineage. But everybody else, a Zion Quinn, a Grayson Waller, a fucking Duke Hudson, an Odyssey Jones, they're going to have to really look themselves in the mirror and really get the idea through their head that they're going to be working the WWE style. What's going to make you stand out compared to everything else? Compared to everybody else? Yeah, it's going to be your character, the way you present yourself, promos. WWE is right now with their backs against the wall as far as creating stars because I think this is going to be a fucking mess and a disaster waiting to happen. Everybody comes along at their own pace. You're going to have people that get it. You're going to have people that don't get it that are going to need much more time. And it sucks because if somebody isn't grasping it quickly or compared to somebody else, you mean to tell me within 6 months WWE is going to let a potential superstar go? What if the ones that don't get it are the ones that are going to end up being the superstars and the ones that do get it end up being the ones that don't really offer anything as far as interest goes? You're really playing a dangerous game here. 6 months, great. But not everybody's going to get everything that they need to know in 6 months. This is why the model that Triple H had was the right model for WWE. It presented them as different. It almost humanized them away from the manufactured, produced product that we know on WWE television right now. Everybody feels the same. Everybody. That's the problem with the shows now. Raw and Smackdown feel the same. They are identical. There's nothing that stands out outside of the colors. The commentary team is the same. Everybody wrestles the same. There's nothing that stands out as different. If you saw it on Raw, you'll see it on SmackDown. You see it on SmackDown, you see it on Raw. Now you're starting to see what they do on Raw and SmackDown on NXT. That's not why we watched NXT at all. WWE is playing a very dangerous game with how they hire and how they train in the Performance Center. There's a new WWE directive moving forward for female talent, which prompted a very angry and scathing reply from Frankie Monet, a.k.a. Taya Valkyrie. There is reportedly a specific new directive in WWE to hire women to the developmental system who are only a certain age. One of the new philosophies with NXT 2.0 is to attract a younger male audience. And as you guys have watched, if you've seen it, that includes hot women throughout the show, which is why Toxic Attraction, Mandy Rose and Gigi Dolan and JC Jane are being presented as, up in front, the top faction in all of NXT. They hold all of the women's championships in that faction. They hold the tag team championships and they hold the NXT women's championships. One of the main reasons why Mandy Rose beat Raquel Gonzalez. However, according to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, the new recommendation within WWE is to sign women who are 25 years or younger because supposedly that'll attract more male viewers. Obviously, there can and probably will be individual exceptions to that rule. For clarity, here's exactly what the Observer reported, and I quote, "Age is also likely a part of many of the decisions because the company is well aware that they don't have enough talent in their 20s on television and are looking at recruiting bigger, younger, and people with more legitimate athletic background moving forward. The new directives on hiring new women is the recommendations are 25 or younger. One of the names let go by WWE was Frankie Monet, a.k.a. Taya Valkyrie, and that would seem why she was let go. As a 20-year-old plus, obviously, on the WWE roster, that's exactly what they're looking for. And it makes me wonder why women like Toni Storm, who are only 23 years old, have not been featured up front and center on WWE television. It makes me truly wonder why Shotzi Blackheart is now finally making her way to SmackDown. How long that lasts, I have no idea. Where Tegan Nox is, where Io Shirai is, right? Why is where's Liv Morgan? Liv Morgan's not 30 years old. Why are we not pushing the initiative with these women when they fit the criteria that WWE obviously is looking for when it comes specifically to the women? I get the type of audience that they're trying to target. I get that WWE wants youthful. I get that they want to think about the future. I really do. But in the back of my mind, it's more business sense than anything. I don't get why you don't think you can make money off of Frankie Monet, who's only 38 years old. What makes Frankie Monet, quote unquote, unattractive to really dig into that male demographic? So with this release, people are obviously going to attribute to Frankie Monet being old and Frankie Monet not being attractive enough to go out there and grab the young male audience that you guys are so desperately wanting. That's the way I interpret it. That's the way I'm seeing it. So you pretty much said that without actually saying it. Now, I don't know why anybody or any male would think that Taya Valkyrie is a hideous-looking woman. Why she's not an attractive woman. Why Frankie Monet, Taya Valkyrie, is only 38 years old. Oh, she's washed up. She can't go in the ring anymore. There's no use for her here. Or why you don't think you can make any money off of a Frankie Monet. I don't know why she named or why she was given the name Frankie Monet. What was wrong with Taya Valkyrie? That's because WWE wants to own everything. They want to start from scratch, but what they don't realize is that you're not really doing her any service at all, and you're actually putting her behind the eight ball because you have to have her start all over again when she's probably got more veteran experience than most of that fucking locker room. I don't get it. She's talented. She knows how to cut a promo. She's good looking, and she's young. 38 years old is not old. It's not. After being released, someone on Twitter mentioned her age in a direct tweet to her being released. She said, "Shut the fuck up. I just turned 38. I've been ashamed to even speak about my age until today. 38 years old is not old, especially when you're a man. Process that. Age should never be an issue, and I'm sick of people using that as a reason that someone should lose their job. I am a woman, a wife, and a mother of 2 dogs, an aunt, and a friend. Nobody should ever say that 38 is old. Grow up." She's 100% correct. She is 100% correct. If she's old and she was released, WWE should end up releasing AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, Bobby Lashley, Randy Orton, Sheamus, Damian Priest, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is 37 years old. Roman Reigns is 37 years old. So Frankie Monet being 38 years old and Roman Reigns being 37 years old, there's no difference there, right? Johnny Gargano is 34, 35 years old. Is Johnny Gargano old? Tommaso Ciampa is around that same age too. Is he old? I don't really understand the logic here. I don't. No, but that doesn't stop WWE from bringing in fucking Bill Goldberg, who's 50 years old, and using him as a one-trick pony to sell pay-per-views, to sell Peacock subscriptions, to get a desperate rating because you are not as cool anymore, and you have Monday Night Football and the World Series and the NBA and the NHL to compete with. What about Edge? Who's to say Taya Valkyrie can't do what Edge is doing now? Edge is 50 years old. You mean to tell me that Taya Valkyrie's too old, but Edge is not coming back on this retirement tour of his? I don't understand. I don't really get the logic in everything that WWE is trying to do here. There should have been a boatload of money you could have made with Taya Valkyrie in that women's division. Matches that she probably dreamed about with Taya Valkyrie in that division. That is a woman that probably would go into that locker room on any given night and make people better because of who she is, how she works, and where she's come from with the years of experience that she's garnered. It sickens me to no end that age is used as a vehicle for firing someone. Age should be blessed. Age should be looked at as a fucking positive. You're bringing in somebody that is actively going to make your brand and your roster better. No, but it's not going to stop you from calling Trish Stratus when you need her. It's not going to stop you from calling Lita when you need her. It's not going to stop you from calling the fucking Bella Twins when you need them. Give me a fucking break. This company should be fucking ashamed of everything that they set their ideals on. What a joke. An absolute joke. Taya Valkyrie is the type of woman that you want with all the other 20 to 25-year-olds on your roster. What happens to Candice LeRae when she has her child? What's going to happen to Candice LeRae when she's ready to come back to work? Is she going to be on the fucking unemployment line because she's too old? What about Asuka? Asuka's 40 years old. What about Shayna Baszler? I said this on Friday night. I'm surprised she has a job still. Double standard in WWE is quite the thing. Quite the thing. Now, I'm not saying that WWE won't release Asuka or won't release Shayna Baszler, but of all people, you release Taya Valkyrie? She didn't even do anything on that brand on that show. She was let go, yeah, for her age. But she was also let go because it ties into the Karrion Kross and Triple H, Keith Lee, Adam Cole, fucking old NXT. She was brought in when Triple H was still in charge. She was a Triple H, go out there and get signee. So now she's gone. Frankie Monet was a Triple H creation. WWE had no plans for Frankie Monet. Oh, she's part of Triple H's camp? Get her out of here. So yeah, 38 years old. Yeah, her age. But yeah, also, she was a part of the old NXT, and she debuted under Triple H's watch. So that adds to her being released as well. And like I said, they're looking to erase everything that Triple H did with NXT. They want nothing of the old NXT to be present on the new NXT. Karrion Kross was going to be repackaged again before the WWE released him. Karrion Kross, Scarlett, gone. The whole idea of signing Kross in early 2020 was to groom him in NXT to become a big star on the main roster due to his size, his physique, but his eventual main roster run will go down as one of the worst and one of the most bizarre of all time. Two-time NXT champion, Kross was called up to Raw in June without Scarlett. He was still the NXT champion. She was a vital part of his act. They split her from the act. Like I mentioned before, NXT champion in a feud with Samoa Joe. They called him up because they couldn't wait another 5 weeks to call this guy up. They had to call him up when they did as NXT champion to lose to Jeff Hardy in 90 seconds, only to give him the allure of going back to NXT and being a fucking loser. We heard attitude problems. We heard all this other behavioral shit in the news reports. Don't believe any of that. I don't believe it for a split fucking second. They saw an ample opportunity to take something that Triple H has vested enough time in, right? As NXT champion, mind you, bring him to the main roster and treat this guy as a piece of shit and teach not only NXT, but Triple H a lesson. Don't fuck with us. Nobody cares about you here. So they took him, made him lose to Jeff Hardy in 90 seconds as NXT champion. Mind you, he was undefeated before that match with Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy gave him his first loss. All those years of investing your time into Karrion Kross, for him to lose to Jeff Hardy as NXT champion in 90 seconds, only for him to be released come November. Now you want to know why nobody watched NXT. It's not that difficult to figure out. He was given a new entrance. Scarlett wasn't a part of the new entrance. This silly new gladiator outfit, a fucking mask that we were told, oh, everybody on the main roster needs some sense of marketability. They took the perfectly packaged Scarlett Bordeaux and Karrion Kross, removed her from the equation, and made him a cosplay fucking cartoon character. I don't know if I was watching a professional wrestler or a fucking cosplay of Super Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. All we needed was fucking Splinter to come up from a sewer, Michelangelo dancing with his fucking nunchucks and a fucking pizza pie in his face. We needed fucking Krang to come out there and walk. Maybe you get Vince McMahon to play fucking Krang, Bebop and Rocksteady to fucking break through a wall somewhere, dancing fucking Foot Clan soldiers dancing about. What a fucking joke. What a joke. Should have hired Vanilla Ice to do fucking ninja rap for Karrion Kross. That's exactly where it was going. His last Raw match on September 27th in a win over Jackson Ryker. Jackson Ryker. That was his last Raw match. Another guy who I'm surprised is still actually there. Somehow he has survived the cut. Wrestling Observer is now reporting that he'd been pulled from television after Vince McMahon said his new gimmick didn't click. McMahon believed Kross did not get over and was about to repackage him again. But then we saw the result of that because on Thursday he was released. Since the releases took place, it's been reported that a number of the talents, with about 5 being the number going around, refused to get vaccinated, and that was one of the reasons that they were let go. Nia Jax is the only name that has been identified as one of those so far. Now, Meltzer mentioned Vince McMahon pulled Kross from WWE TV. Vince McMahon felt he wasn't getting over within the company and said that he was going to get a repackage for a third time. Kross then jokingly responded on Twitter to a fan who asked about the helmet. I wonder if Kross would give me the helmet. Kross promptly replied and said, nobody wants that piece of shit, brother, with a crying, laughing emoji. End quote. So, Vince McMahon, let me get this straight. I feel like I'm losing my fucking mind. Let me get this straight. Vince McMahon said the gimmick didn't click. Vince McMahon said the character wasn't getting over. So, at the end of the day, you mean to tell me that what Vince McMahon's plan was, and the idea for Vince McMahon to change Kross, all came from Vince and Bruce and Vince McMahon's team. You mean to tell me that your ideas didn't work? You mean to tell me that you're actually blaming, or it sounds like they're blaming Kross for not getting over? Again, I don't understand why we need to change for the sake of changing. I would bet every dime that I have that if Kross came out to the WWE main roster on night one as NXT champion and you changed nothing about the presentation Triple H gave us, meaning Scarlett comes out, she walks, and she looks devilish in some black leather outfit. She looks like some fucking witch that's going to be doing some hocus pocus shit with the long black nails and the fucking devil horns. And Kross is following slowly behind as the white mist and the smoke trail behind Scarlett. You see this ominous figure standing behind her. She gets into the ring singing his theme song, and then out from the smoke, the way Triple H presented Kross. He comes up through the smoke, and you see Karrion Kross there as the NXT. You mean to tell me that wouldn't get over? Is that what you're telling me, Bruce and Vince? Right? No, but Kross didn't get over because of the shit gimmick you gave him. You made him into a fucking cartoon character because you thought it was a good idea to put a fucking gladiator mask on him. Oh, he's got the gladiator kilt or the skirt or whatever the fuck he's wearing. So yeah, let's put him in a fucking mask. Yeah, that's exactly what the fans want to see. You want to hype a fucking young male demographic. Scarlett doesn't fit into that demographic. Well, she fits into that demographic. She's going to help get this guy over on television, and he's going to be a monster heel. Yeah, but that didn't fit into your agenda, right? You were so obsessed with erasing everything that Triple H did and changing everything Triple H did that you are so fucking ignorant and petty that you couldn't give the man his just deserves and use his ideas to get your show over and get Kross over and get Scarlett over and create new superstars on Monday Night Raw. Right? Sure thing. Sure thing. Yeah, let me blame Kross for not getting over. A mask. Looks like fucking Super Shredder. You put him in suspenders. Right? What was Bruce binge watching Ninja Turtles and Family Matters all weekend the day he came up with these fucking ideas? Did I do that? Probably watched a marathon on fucking TV Land of fucking Family Matters with Steve Urkel destroying Carl Winslow's kitchen. Bruce takes influence from this. Oh, just like Steve Urkel destroying Carl Winslow's fucking kitchen, I'm going to destroy Triple H's creation and then blame the fucking characters and the individual playing the character because nothing that I come up with is a bad idea. No, we're all perfect here in Vince McMahon land. God. Kross is going to be fine. Kross is going to find work. Scarlett is going to come out. And Kross is going to come out. And I'm going to sit here the day that we see them show up in Jacksonville, just like Malachi Black took his character and what he did in WWE and made it new again in AEW, using what he did there, bringing it to AEW and building an extension between the two worlds. Kross is going to come to AEW and you're going to see him do exactly what should have been done in WWE. Then you're going to hear the reports of WWE. It's no big loss. It's not a big deal. Really? It's not a big deal, right? It's not a big deal. Because you are just so ignorant to the fucking fact that what you do sucks. You people are fucking demented. You need to be locked away, never to be seen again, never to see the light of day again. You actually suck the joy out of everybody watching your fucking show just because of the behavior and the attitude and the fucking negligence that you emit to everybody with stories like this. What a fucking joke. Kross will be fine. And if I ever have an opportunity to tell him what happened here and what I thought of it, I absolutely would jump on that, no doubt about it, and tell them how great they were in the time that they were given in NXT, only to have it ruined and everybody like me watching this, having big hopes and aspirations and being hyped about this, only to be wiped away because of Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon's fucking shit creative. Not once did I ever blame Kross. Not one. Not one. I know. I'm smarter than most. I know exactly what's going on here. Just right back to what I talked about. Triple H. Everything Triple H did, wiped away. You think this is being done? Whatever. It's a coincidence? No. It's being done purposely. It's just a strategic fucking erasing of everything Triple H did. Keith Lee and Kross are the two biggest exclamation points on that. Going back to the 40 years old, Balor is another 40-year-old guy. Kross wasn't a young spring chicken either. He wasn't. So how much of the age has to do with Kross being released? You know, Balor's 40 years old too. So it makes me even add him to the name of the names of list, or the list of names that I talked about before. Ty Valkyrie, 38 years old. Finn Balor's 40 years old. Finn Balor looks to be in the best physical peak condition of his entire life. Now, but let's fire Ty Valkyrie at 38 years old, right? That means Finn Balor, let's fire Finn Balor. Karrion Kross wasn't over. Bullshit. Keith Lee, here's another, listen to this. Keith Lee reportedly frustrated at WWE. Some claim he had attitude issues. Attitude issues? Really? Really now? I'd love to know what these attitude issues stem from. I'd love to know. Wade Keller of PW Torch provided more details on Keith Lee's release. Keller said that he heard from people that Lee was frustrated. He heard from some people that Lee was frustrated. And there were attitude issues. And this was said by people who were rooting for him. Keller said, and I quote, Keith Lee, who I have chronicled for months and months and months and months and months, was somebody that even people that were rooting for him behind the scenes became frustrated with him. He just had, in general, attitude issues, or as one wrestler told me tonight, perceived attitude issues. Hedging a little bit, others have said outright attitude problems, and he just was frustrated. I've heard different things about him in terms of his mood being altered way more than it should in the modern era about being asked to do a job. End quote. Lee dealt with health issues this year that kept him off of television. Then he was given the Bearcat gimmick when he returned to TV a few weeks ago. It's not clear what caused the frustrations behind the scenes, but Lee said on social media that the Bearcat gimmick was not his idea. So perhaps that was one of the reasons why he was perceived as being difficult backstage. Now, with this Bearcat gimmick, you know, a lot of people jumped on my case, whether it be on social media, Instagram, Twitter, or in the live stream chat. Oh, well, JD, you know, it's all Keith Lee's idea, man. He got it because he was paying tribute to Bearcat Wright, man. Yes, because the geeks on social media are very familiar with the work of Bearcat Wright, right? A wrestler who found popularity in the 50s and 60s, right? Sure thing. Sure fucking thing. Social media degenerate. I'd love to know if you guys, I've said this time and time again, if you guys can find the fucking interview and the fucking promo that Keith Lee cut saying that the reason why he named himself Bearcat was from Edward Bearcat Wright. I'd love for you to find this fucking clip and send it to me, and I would gladly apologize. You know what? Here's a fucking spoiler for you folks. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It never did. It never will. It only is a fabrication of your imaginations. I don't expect to get an apology from the Reddit virgins who fucking don't deodorant. I don't expect to get a Reddit apology from the fucking virgins that haven't seen the light of day in 3 weeks. I don't expect to get a fucking apology from the Reddit virgins who've never tasted pussy in their entire fucking life. I don't expect to get an apology from the fucking social media geeks out there, Andrew and fucking 9 different numbers, who claims to know pro wrestling with a fucking CM Punk avatar and some fucking unknown Japanese wrestler header, while he tweets fucking OnlyFans pornos all over his timeline. Yeah, I don't expect to get apologies from those lower fucking doldrum of society geeks. But I do love the fact that I'm once again right. I'm once again right. I said it from day one. I said it till the day he was released. Keith Lee had nothing to do with the Bearcat moniker. This was yet another brilliant idea of Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon for Keith Lee. And they felt like their creative ideas were going to get over, and Keith Lee was going to have a new lease on life, right? And it ultimately failed because of what you did in the months prior to Keith Lee. How many different theme musics has this guy gotten? How many different attitude changes and in-ring style changes and attire changes has this man undergone? How do you expect people to cling on to somebody when he shows up one week as the way we remember him, and then the next week he shows up as something else, and then 6 months later shows up as something else, and then 12 months later he shows up as something else, ultimately to get fucking fired? How do you expect people to invest their time into something that is constantly changing like the fucking weather every single day? I don't understand the mentality of these people. I don't. What was wrong with Keith Lee the way we remember him in NXT? I don't get it. I never will get it. I don't understand it. You know what Keith Lee's going to be doing when he goes back and starts wrestling again? He's going to give us the Keith Lee that WWE fucked up on. And he's going to be more over for it. This is not a product of WWE. This is not some secondhand WWE X disgruntled employee. This is not fucking has-been central for WWE, right? Or AEW if he ends up in AEW coming over from WWE. This is somebody that was never given a fucking chance to survive. Never. They threw him in the woods with sub-degree temperature and asked him to fucking survive a week with no food and no fucking shelter. And he died. 1,000 deaths. Dead. This guy did not have a fucking living chance at all. Just because it falls under the same category of what I mentioned with Karrion Kross, Ty Valkyrie, and everybody else that is being removed from the company because they were a Triple H toy. Triple H is not getting any credit at all. Sit in your office, push that fucking pen, and file those papers. You are nothing to us anymore. You failed against AEW, and now we're taking everything away from you, and everything that you've done is now being erased. I didn't think they were going to go through with it as bad as they've done, but this is fucking pathetic. Pathetic. So the Bearcat moniker was not his idea. So please get it out of your fucking skulls and issue me a goddamn worthy apology. I was right yet again from day one. Why would you expect Keith Lee to come up with his own gimmick? Did Keith Lee have any sort of power on his own? You think one day they called Keith Lee up? Yeah, we love you so much, Mr. Keith Lee. We want you to come up with a different moniker on top. We want Keith Lee on our brand. But it's got to be a branding to our liking. Come up with something that sticks. We're going to give you the free reins to contemplate your own gimmick. You mean to tell me the control freak, the narcissistic fuck that Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard are. You mean to tell me that they gave Keith Lee all the run and the free reign to do whatever he wanted, to come up with his own name and his own character, right? This guy legitimately recorded his own theme music in NXT, only to have it taken away, given some fucking terrible shit, and then go back and re-record another song he did vocals for, only to be standing on Monday Night Raw with another new theme song. This guy underwent 3 different theme song changes. You mean to tell me that this guy had his second theme song changed because he wanted it to be changed? You mean to tell me he physically went to a recording studio and recorded vocals for a new theme song recorded by Def Rebel only to have it changed again? What makes you think that Keith Lee was the one to come up with Bearcat Wright or Bearcat Keith Lee? Paying tribute to Bearcat Wright. What are you, fucking mental? Like, how stupid are you? This guy had absolutely no say in anything that was Keith Lee on the main roster. And I find it funny how everybody's claiming attitude issues, that the guy was frustrated. He was upset more than anybody really should be in the modern era about asking to do a job. I don't know. You pulled me from NXT where I was built up as the face of the fucking brand only to have me called up. And instead of using me and building upon what I did in NXT, you have him go to the main roster and fucking die 1,000 deaths. This isn't the same Keith Lee that we saw in the beginning stages of NXT. If those attitude issues existed, those attitude issues were growing pains because he did not understand the WWE model. He came into a new company after only knowing the indies, and you're asking him to job and get himself over and present yourself as limitless Keith Lee. He had to put other people over on his way up to the top. It's just what needs to be done. You'll see your day in the sun. Do some jobs, get out there, show the crowd what you can do, show them your shit, show them how charismatic you are, get the theme music over, and you'll get your moment in the sun. If any attitude issues were coming from Keith Lee, it was in the beginning days of NXT just because he didn't know any better. That I would understand. But these attitude issues that are being reported right now, I am telling you right now, those attitude issues from Keith Lee that are being reported are full of shit. Full of shit. This guy has more than one fucking reason to be frustrated for the reasons I just mentioned, not only with the theme music, not only with the in-ring fucking change to his madness, the in-ring style changing, the fucking, the clothing and attire change, the fact that 1 week he's on television and the next 10 weeks he's off television. How do you expect people to get over by being so absent on WWE television? How? And pardon me, excuse me, but don't you think if you're Keith Lee, you would be frustrated as well with your first night back after showing everybody exactly why you were out because of COVID complications for 7 months? You would not be frustrated on your first night fucking back being an unadvertised appearance to show up in a match against Bobby Lashley, lose in 5 minutes, fucking treated like a sack of trash, only to be a building block to a Lashley Goldberg match at SummerSlam that was genuinely fucking awful and did nobody any favors. Yes, please continue to tell me that Keith Lee has fucking attitude changes. If you were in Keith Lee's shoes, you'd be fucking frustrated too. Spare me the fucking bullshit report. He has every fucking right to be frustrated. Every right. Then you want to take him off television again, present him as a big deal, draft him to Raw. Keith Lee's clawing his way to fucking catering on Monday Night Raw. Give this big spiel about Keith Lee. Get him over. Video packages about him clawing his way to Raw. losing to Kross, beating Kross off of television, comes back with purple fucking bear claws on his tights, bear cat on the back of his trunks, new theme music that nobody fucking recognizes because he's undergone 4 different fucking theme song changes. Yes, Keith Lee is frustrated. He's got anger problems. He's got attitude problems backstage. Give me a fucking break. Give me a break. If you believe the shit that's being written about Keith Lee right now, you are a fucking idiot. If I'm Keith Lee, I'm frustrated too. If I'm Keith Lee, I'm voicing my fucking opinion too. And what about Mia Yim? His fiance drafted to the same fucking brand as he is. Where the fuck is she? You don't think that fucking upset him? The fact that she fucking went out of her way to take care of him, bypassing a Royal Rumble opportunity for herself, because she hasn't been on fucking television yet on the main roster, to take care of him, only to get drafted to the same brand. Where is she? He's on television. Where the fuck is she? You don't think he cares about that? Sickening. Absolutely fucking sickening. And you know what? I've been saying for it. I've been asking for it for weeks. When is this guy's contract up? Where is TK? I even tweeted Tony Khan. If you are not looking at Ember Moon, Keith Lee, and Karrion Kross as additions to the AEW roster, what the fuck are we doing? Why are we even here? Keith Lee. You know, everybody wants to fucking talk about, AEW is all elite whites, is what I hear on social media. How AEW is neglecting black performers, right? I'm sorry, are you even watching the fucking show? Are you watching the show? I had some fucking ridiculous comment thrown my way. Oh, Will Hobbs is a joke. Will Hobbs, he got buried by CM Punk. Will Hobbs is a lost cause. That doesn't count, or some shit like that. Downplaying Will Hobbs. I'm sorry, are you watching the fucking show? Have you seen the progression of Will Hobbs on AEW television? You don't think being in Will Hobbs' shoes, standing in that ring with CM fucking Punk after 7 years, is the biggest moment of that man's life? You don't think CM Punk went to Tony Khan and said, this is my list of guys I want to wrestle in year one, and Will Hobbs' name was on that list? You don't find that to be AEW pushing black talent? They didn't have to put Will Hobbs in that position. They could have given me fucking anybody in that ring on Grand Slam, of all fucking places. You know, the venue that AEW sold out 21,000 deep, right? No, but AEW's not pushing black talent. I mean, give me a break, right? All right, what am I watching? Are you fucking blind? What about Jade Cargill? Woman's in the TBS title tournament. She's undefeated on AEW television. Yeah, but AEW doesn't push black talent. What about Red Velvet? We just saw her last night. She beat the Bunny to advance in the TBS title tournament. Yeah, but AEW doesn't push black talent. They just signed Lee Moriarty. They just signed Leo Rush. What else do you need as far as examples go? I hear all of this every single fucking week. All elite whites. How AEW does not cater to the black wrestling community. They do. You're just too fucking stupid to see it. And who's to say someone has to be a world champion based on the color of their skin? If you are not on the level of the upper elite yet, you should not even be in discussion for a major world championship. If Will Hobbs was on the same level as a Kenny Omega, I'd be the first fucking person to tell you that he should be taking the title off of Kenny Omega. I'm not simply going to put the title on him because of the color of his skin. He's got to back it up. You fucking serious? Keith Lee fits into that mold. You want to go out and get Keith Lee, Tony Khan? That's going to be the answer to all your prayers. That man's ready for the main event. That man's ready for the world title. That man is going to bring you a completely different ambiance into AEW. He should be at the top of the fucking list, right under Wyndham. Shut these people up. JD's racist. Oh, yeah? I just sat here and told you Keith Lee is deserving of an AEW World title. Shut the fuck up. I just sat here for 20 fucking minutes spilling my case about why this guy should have beaten Roman Reigns. Now, but I'm racist. Why this guy should have been the face of the fucking company coming out of NXT. But no, I'm racist. Pick and choose what you want to hear. Clip the fucking show and take me out of context to make yourself look good. You're a fucking idiot that doesn't know jack shit about what I do or what I say or my beliefs. Shut the fuck up. Nia Jax. Heartbroken after her WWE release. Said she was released after asking for time away from mental health. She took to her Instagram page and posted a heartfelt statement on the matter. She's going through a lot of things privately, so this release is also a huge shot to take that she must process. She says this, and I quote, "I usually keep to my personal life and keep it private, but yesterday's reports leave me with no option but to clarify matters. I recently took a short leave of absence from WWE for mental health reasons. I've been working through so much, more than I can share. So I took some time with the full support of the company to take care of myself. Earlier this week, after WWE sent me my schedule to return to the ring for the November 15th show, I asked for an extension to my mental health break, feeling that I needed more time and hoping I would have the ongoing support of the company I had given my all to the past 7 years. I did not receive a response. The next I heard, I was being released. My vaccination status was never mentioned. I wasn't given any choices or options. It breaks my heart to be so abruptly let go without any consultation when dealing with so much privately. I loved my career at WWE. I love the men and women I worked with, and I'm going to need the time to process this huge loss. I appreciate those people who have shown understanding and compassion during an incredibly difficult time." End quote. If that is anywhere close to being true, the company really fucked up. Now, we can sit here and claim Nia Jax is fucking reckless. Nia Jax sucks. Nia Jax is one of the worst professional wrestlers that we've seen in the modern era. We can sit here and spew our dislike for Nia Jax all we want. But if this is the actual story behind the matter and what she is saying is legitimate, the company should be absolutely fucking ashamed of themselves. You mean to tell me you asked Nia Jax to come back on November 15th and this woman asked for an extension and you released her after she asked for an extension, after she said her vaccination status had nothing to do with it, that she wasn't consulted or given any options regarding the vaccination of herself? Yeah, because Nia Jax is needed. She's needed on WWE TV by November 15th, right? I don't understand that. You mean to tell me that you don't have more than what you need to get by without Nia Jax? That you are not taking this woman's personal life and all that she's given you for a couple of months off after she gave you 7 years? A couple of months or a little extension to get herself right before she comes back to work for another fucking long stretch of being on the road? You mean to tell me giving this woman more time to get herself right is too much to ask, right? No, but I'm sure the new CFO that you just hired, who got a $1 million signing bonus, is much more worth the time and money, right? We can sit here and hate Nia Jax all we want. If this is anywhere close to being legitimate, fuck the WWE. Fuck them. I could sit here and spew Nia Jax hate every single day. The woman was useless. The woman sucked. She was not a good pro wrestler. Her downfall, honestly, the reason why nobody really liked is because she never really presented herself as a monster. She always wanted to present herself as a diva. How could you be a diva and a monster at the same time? It's almost as if being on Total Bellas and Total Divas was her downfall. You can't be a character on television and portray a fucking glamorous diva living the lifestyle of a diva on reality television. It's not believable. So when you come back to television and you want to fucking come out and act like a diva yet try to be a monster at the same time, you don't know what you want to be at that point. And in the eyes of the audience, it's not going to really be a good translation. WWE TV is not going to miss Nia Jax. I don't care. Paige can ask for bring back Nia hashtags all we want. No, thank you. Nia Jax will find work somewhere. Under what name, under what moniker, I don't know. She will go somewhere, whether it's Women of Wrestling or Shimmer or Impact, which is their bread and butter. She will be fine. She will land on her feet and will find work in the next 90 days. But WWE releasing her after that, they better hope to God that's not the fucking case. That's a PR nightmare waiting to happen. Because that woman, there's no doubt in my mind that she will blow that shit up now that she's not, especially after 90 days, not with the company anymore. Up to 4 WWE stars were released because they were unvaccinated. This is coming from several different reports. And one of those names was Nia Jax. That was reported by the New York Post. And while there is still speculation on social media about the others, we won't find out who they are because nobody has those names confirmed. Everyone should be vaccinated. According to WWE, they don't want another outbreak, as there were several outbreaks last year and at the start of the pandemic. Jax, being one of those people that refused to get the vaccination, may also explain why she's been off WWE television. I don't know if that's the case or not. She just said that she was going through mental health and some personal reasons being off WWE television. But the news report is Jax suffered an elbow posterior fracture and dislocation to her left elbow, which will require surgery, and she will be out for an undisclosed amount of time. That was the last time we saw her on WWE television. I don't know if that was legitimate or if it was a storyline because of what happened with Shayna Baszler. But like I said, WWE better hope that the reason why they fired her is not for the reasons that she mentioned. That would be a PR nightmare waiting to happen. B-Fab signed the WWE contract extension days before she was released on Thursday. B-Fab was one of the 18 names released on Thursday. She was a part of Hit Row. Brian Alvarez reported that B-Fab literally signed a new deal a week ago. Meltzer followed this up, saying that she signed a new main roster contract in recent days or within the last week. One of the consequences of this is that she'll likely now be under the 90-day non-compete clause instead of the 30 days, which I don't think people are really taking into consideration here. She was on the 30 days. Now she's under 90 days because she signed the new WWE contract extension with the main roster. The 3 male members of Hit Row, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Bottom Dollar, and Ashante Adonis, are still signed with WWE. B-Fab only wrestled 2 TV matches in WWE, both on NXT, which were a win over Katarina Cortez, who was also released on Thursday, then a loss in a no disqualification match to Elektra Lopez. I could sit here and shit on Shit Row all I want, but I don't know what the reason. This is the most muddy and hazy of the releases. I don't know why you would call them up ultimately to release B-Fab. Unless WWE realized that they were going nowhere with B-Fab. Maybe she fell under the 60-day thing that they were monitoring her for the last 60 days. They realized that she's not getting any better and then opted to release her. I don't know why they would release her after just calling the group up to Smackdown. Maybe it's having to do with the vaccination. I don't know, and we will not find that out. I don't know. But as far as WWE is concerned, Hit Row was supposed to be a big deal on SmackDown. I got shit for it because I said what I said then. I'm going to say it now. I don't think they were ready. I don't think that they were ready. This is another Triple H project. It's already soiled on the main roster, and they haven't even made a dent on anything they've done yet. They've come out and rapped. If you know, or if you don't know, now you know, is their catchphrase. Yeah, I know. I know everything about what's coming for you guys. And it don't look good. I don't even have a crystal ball sitting here. I just know, based on what I know with the people who run your show. B-Fab, gone. Hit Row, already behind the 8 ball. Seems like WWE doesn't have any plans for Hit Row at all. If they did have plans, they would have been featured as a mainstay act already in the last 3 weeks. They've done nothing but rap with Sami Zayn, who may also be on his way out. Frankie Monet issued a statement following her WWE release. She says, and I quote, in a Twitter post, she was one of the 18 wrestlers released on Thursday night. Budget cuts. There were more than just budget cut reasons why Frankie Monet was released. She's married to Raw superstar John Morrison. She thanks Shawn Michaels and Triple H, as well as the entire WWE Performance Center staff. She said she loved getting to train in the best pro wrestling training facility each day and was completely enveloped in the business. She says, and I quote, well, that didn't go as planned. First and foremost, I would like to thank WWE for allowing me to live my dream, even if it was cut short. To say I am disappointed would be an understatement. I'm confused, hurt, sad, and honestly mad. I came here to be one of the top luchadors of our era, and honestly, leaving there a little heartbroken. I loved every day when I got to work, being around the greatest minds in the business, getting to train in the best pro wrestling facility in the world, and see my friends every day. I was completely enveloped in the industry. Thank you, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and the entire PC staff for welcoming me with open arms and allowing me to learn from you. I know who I am. I know what I've done, and I know how I have much more to give. This is just another swerve in my journey that I didn't expect, but to be honest, my life has always been filled with those. I'm a fighter, I'm stubborn, and I'm a very, very good professional wrestler. Thank you to everyone that supported me through this chapter, and thank you to everyone that will continue to support me into the next one. Time to let La Huera Loca loose. Let's make magic. She's under a 30-day non-compete, and she will be free to do whatever she wants on Saturday, December 4th. She will find work. Whether it's back with Impact or whether it's with AEW, she will find work. That woman is not going to go long on free agency. AEW Dynamite. The ratings on Wednesday draw the lowest ratings since before returning to touring. Dynamite drew 878,000 viewers, down from the 941,000 viewers the show did previously. In the 18 to 49 demo, the show did a 0.32, which was down from the 0.40 last week. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics reported this news. Dynamite was beaten in the key demo by 2 NBA games on ESPN, Tucker Carlson on Fox News, Real Housewives on Bravo, and The Challenge on MTV. This week was the lowest total viewership in the 18 to 49 demo rating, and that has been the lowest since the show has gone back to touring on a live weekly schedule every Wednesday. Dynamite ranked number 6 in the top 150 shows on cable for the night, down from number 4 last week. Not really that big of a deal. Not really that big of a deal. October is a huge month for TV shows and new shows, and shows like The Challenge obviously are taken away. The 2 NBA games, depending on who they are, obviously taking away. I'm not looking at this as far as, oh my God, AEW's dying like all these other fucking blithering idiots on social media. I'm not concerned about what the ratings at all. Dynamite was a great show on Wednesday, and that's what I know going into next week, and I'm excited for Full Gear. I don't give a shit what the fans on social media are saying or doing to envelope themselves in this fictional war between WWE and AEW. The biggest thing that happened on AEW Dynamite was Miro taking Moxley's place in the World Title Eliminator Tournament. Now Miro is set to go one-on-one with Bryan Danielson at Full Gear, which I'm very much looking forward to. Jon Moxley, removed from the tournament. He entered an inpatient rehab program for alcoholism. Tony Khan found this out on Tuesday night, and he let everybody know on Tuesday night that Jon Moxley was going to be removed and off of AEW television for the time being. So he was on The Observer Live, was Tony Khan, and he talked about Moxley's situation. He acknowledged that it was unfortunate and that Jon's wife, Renee, and the entire family had the full support of the company and the promotion. It's actually good circumstances because it's a good thing that he's doing. It's a brave thing, and we're all here to support him. It was in the last couple of days talking to him and Renee. You know, Renee is talking or taking him, and Renee spoke to us and said, you know, that they both thought this was the best way to go about it. And talking to both of them, we agree. Since this announcement about Moxley's leave of absence, support is coming from all of the world of professional wrestling. Fans, fellow wrestlers, and even pro wrestling journalists have come to wish the family well. Renee has thanked fans for the support in this difficult time. Tony Khan put the entire thing into perspective. You know that while wrestling is Jon Moxley's business, his life is his wife and his daughter, and all parties agree that the decision for Mox to seek help was the best of these priorities. I think that there are some things more important than wrestling. In this case, the most important thing we can do is now show support to Jon and his recovery, and that's the last thing Tony Khan said on The Observer. Everybody is hoping for the best with Jon Moxley's recovery. It sounds like Tony Khan and AEW are working with the family and working to give them what is best for them, and this is great. This is great. He's going to pull through. Moxley will be back on television within the new year. He'll be back bigger and better than ever. It's going to be fine, and I talked about this on Wednesday with Jesse. We really dove into the effects of alcoholism on a family and the toll that it takes. So if you guys want to go check that out, there are some personal stories from me on that Wednesday live stream. Jesse, dives into it as well and gives his thoughts and his stance on it. And everybody is backing Jon Moxley 100%. He will be fine, and he's got the full support of AEW and the entire wrestling community. Tony Khan also talked about AEW and a possible streaming service. He actually was speaking to Monaco Streaming Film Festival, and AEW President Tony Khan talked about a potential streaming service, which the company lacks right now. Shouldn't be a top priority, but it will be a top priority in the years to come. Khan stated that it is still something to be worked on, but is optimistic about launching one in the future. Barstool Sports asked me about it, and there's a great demand for it. I'm excited to talk more about it because we're building each week a great library of content. It gets better and better, and we can provide more new content, so I'm excited to tell people about that. But it's still something that we're working on. Now, free ad-supported streaming TV is a different subject. Now, there could be a lot of content that could be fast content that is not the premium content. I'm never going to put a $50 pay-per-view or every episode of Dynamite on fast. It's just not going to make sense. But there may be some of our programming like Dark and things like that, which are our developmental shows. Or even some of those things we're talking about like controversial shows. That's great for fast streaming services. Like, I would much rather have a couple of people have a cup of coffee and talk about wrestling on fast. It feels like a much more appropriate place for people to sit down and watch that than on network television. Now, it remains to be seen how AEW will implement its streaming services when the time comes. With streaming being the norm in many places nowadays, the company certainly has a lot to live up to. And we talked about this with the Ring of Honor story and them closing down for the time being or going on hiatus, how they have their library up for sale. And it is up for sale because the report was that Ring of Honor is trying to sell it and has been trying to sell it for over a year. They just have the market price for it a little bit too high for people's liking. And if the right bidder comes along and gives them a substantial amount of money for the Ring of Honor library, I don't know how much that amount is going to be. Tony Khan would absolutely benefit from the Ring of Honor library as it just fits the mold of what they are creating there. And a lot of those people are alum from Ring of Honor. Plus, Ring of Honor was the one who produced the All In show, which pretty much paved the way for AEW being born. It was a Ring of Honor production. They own the rights to that. They have the film for that. That would be great on an AEW streaming service when the time is right. So if there's anybody out there that should be buying the Ring of Honor library and the content, it's Tony Khan. At what cost, I don't know. So we're not really in the phases to be thinking about an AEW streaming service. That is the ultimate goal. They're only 2 years in. There's much more to do, much more to produce, more memories to make. And when the time is right, Tony Khan, I'm sure, knows that he wants all of that under one umbrella. And that will be an AEW streaming service, whether it be an AEW app or they go through a different platform like a Hulu or a Netflix or something along those lines. I don't know. That remains to be seen, but Tony Khan has that in his back pocket. And on top of the TV rights deals that I'm sure he's going to get a huge sum of money for when the time is right, when they have negotiations for that. AEW having a library on another streaming platform like that, or developing a streaming platform on their own, like the WWE Network did, it's going to be a great thing. It really is. So he knows when the time is right, and I'm pretty confident in him delivering that when it is time. AEW is planning TNT specials with possible NWA CWF throwback names. Andrew Zarian of the Matt Man podcast is reporting that he was told by a source that there is a TNT special planned on January 8th. He said the name of the show could be Battle of the Belts, which was a first show held by the NWA and Championship Wrestling back from Florida in 1985. The first event was headlined by the NWA World Champion Ric Flair, at the time beating Wahoo McDaniel in a best 2 out of 3 falls match. Zarian wrote, and I quote, per source, AEW is planning a TNT special on January 8th. They're obviously not able to use the name Clash of Champions due to WWE owning the rights. However, I'm hearing the possible name for the show will be Battle of the Belts, a throwback to NWA and the CFW. The second and third Battle of the Belt shows were held in 1986 before the CWF went out of business in 1987. Love it. Absolutely love it. So we're looking at our possible next Grand Slam. And this may be where we get the TBS title being decided between what I think will be Thunder Rosa and Ruby Soho. I love it. Battle of the Belts, all the championships on the line. Maybe we get a trios championship before then. Who knows? Who knows? But AEW title, the women's title, the tag team titles, maybe the AAA titles, the TNT title, the TBS title, Battle of the Belts. I love it. Absolutely love it. Bringing more awareness and giving those Dynamite shows a special feel on TNT. I'm here for it, man. I'm very excited about that, and I love the name, Battle of the Belts. Kalisto, Samurai Del Sol, reportedly has backstage heat with AEW after a Brody Lee tweet. On this past Wednesday's Dynamite, Samurai Del Sol, a.k.a. Kalisto in WWE, and Aerostar made their AEW debuts by taking on AAA World Tag Team Champions FTR. Afterwards on Twitter, Kalisto noted talking to Brody Lee before his match, spelling his name John, John, instead of John, Jon. Prayed and talked to John Brody Lee before my match. Thank you for showing me your home and giving me the strength and energy I need today. Forever in your heart, hermano. End quote. Chris Jericho responded, quote tweeted Kalisto, Samurai Del Sol, and said in a quote tweet on Twitter to his original tweet, I quote, you spelled his name wrong. This also got the support of Lee's wife, Amanda. On the latest Brian and Vinny show, Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer reported Jericho's response was due to the tweet causing Amanda to be very, very upset. Apparently, a lot of other people were bothered by it too. In the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was reported that Amanda was mad because Samurai wasn't a friend of her husband and was name-dropping him for no reason. She also noted that they hadn't heard a word from Samurai during the last few years. It was also brought up that Miro had spelled Brody in the past, Brody, instead of Brodie. But Amanda listed off reasons why that wasn't an issue. Brody and Brody were stage names, not his real name. Miro spoke to Amanda almost daily when Lee was sick and had cried with her in the past. Also, Miro checked on her and her kids continuously. This is, listen, man, I don't know. There's no reason why Amanda would lie. She has nothing to benefit from this. Jericho, you know, he is the face of AEW, whether you want to believe it or not. He's the first world champion in AEW. He's one of the bosses backstage. Jericho has a lot of pull backstage. Jericho has a lot of influence backstage. There's one person in that company that Tony Khan is going to listen to, being that the power does not reside in Cody and the Bucks and Kenny and Paige anymore. They're just performers, and TK does everything creatively, makes all the creative decisions. If there's one person in Tony Khan's ear that Tony Khan is really going to listen to, it's Chris Jericho. This may end up being the nail in Kalisto's coffin. If there was any time for Kalisto to want to be in AEW, he ruined it. He finished himself. They're not going to sign him, no matter how impressive he looked on Wednesday night. They're not going to pick him up. They're not going to offer him a contract. They're not going to invite him back. That was it. This was a one-time deal, and then he wanted to go on social media and play up to John Huber, Brody Lee. You know, all because Brody was in everybody's hearts, and he was an influence to everybody. WWE, AEW, the Indies. That doesn't give you the right to go on social media if this is to be believed, and you haven't spoken to the family in several years, and you didn't check up on them, and you weren't really a friend to Brody to begin with. You can't go into the company that is his home, that he gave the final years of his life to, months of his life to. Go in there and use his name to get yourself over, get yourself some social media clout, and use him to get into the good graces of the company and Tony Khan. I don't think he really thought about what he was doing there. You can't post something like that without it being genuine, and it just came off disingenuous. And now he's pretty much sealed his fate. He's going nowhere. Do I agree with Jericho taking that stance? Yes, I do. You spelled his name wrong. Do you know who he is? If you knew who he was and you were a good friend of his, why would you ever spell his name wrong? I think you'd know it's Jon and not John. I stand with Jericho on this, and I stand with Amanda on this. There's no reason why that woman's going to lie. He sealed his fate. He won't be in AEW ever again. I'd be shocked if we see him on Dynamite or Dark in AEW. NXT 2.0 rating drops from the Halloween Havoc special. 631,000 live viewers, down from 746,000 live viewers the week before with Halloween Havoc. The show did a 0.15 rating in the 18 to 49 demo. The show did a 0.18 rating a week ago for Halloween Havoc. And ranked number 30 in the top 150 shows on cable, down from number 11 with the Halloween Havoc show. Because last week was the Halloween Havoc edition of the show, ratings were expected to be up, and they were, as it was NXT's highest total viewership and key demo since September 21st. This week's episode featured Dakota Kai versus Cora Jade, Zion Quinn versus Robert Stone, Legado del Fantasma versus Von Wagner and Kyle O'Reilly, Braun Breaker versus Andre Chase, Solo Sikoa versus Jeet Rama, who was then promptly released on Thursday, so I guess Jeet Rama did not have a good showing on Tuesday night. Boa versus Grayson Waller, and Carmelo Hayes with Trick Williams versus Johnny Gargano and Dexter Lumis. Sounds like I missed NXT on a week in which I should have missed NXT. I was watching the Braves win the World Series, so I did not watch this show at all. But that sounds genuinely terrible. Genuinely terrible. I don't know. But apparently this version of NXT is liked by the majority of the fucking social media cretins out there. I don't know why. Goes to show you the taste of the wrestling community now after Triple H was promptly removed from power. Kyle O'Reilly, his contract is set to expire next month. This is according to PW Insider. And O'Reilly's contract is set to expire at the end of next month, so he could sign with another wrestling promotion as soon as January 1st. O'Reilly is reportedly listed internally as the number 2 babyface on the NXT brand. As noted, it was also reported that Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano got a main roster tryout match last night before SmackDown in a dark match. He was also removed from the NXT banner on the NXT page on WWE.com, and he was replaced by Braun Breaker. He's been teaming with Von Wagner in recent weeks, which is one of the most forced tag teams that I could possibly have ever imagined on WWE television. A few weeks back, Bobby Fish said to PW Insider about a potential dream tag team partner in AEW, being that Bobby Fish is signed with AEW. He says, and I quote, "I don't know. It's hard to say. I look at a guy like Bryan Danielson, and Bryan and I are so similar and yet so different in a similar way. I know as opponents we have some chemistry there, and I won't deny that I'm very appreciative of it. I don't know. Could it be in the same tag team situation? I'm sure at some point for Pro Wrestling Noah we may have tagged. I don't quite remember, but I guess off the top of my head I could go out there out of curiosity. You bring up my tag team experience in the past, and I got to be honest, I don't know. There's a certain dance partner who most people would equate me to, and it would be difficult to think of myself in a tag team scenario long-term and not see that dance partner. So there's nobody in particular, but I mean, I'd be up for a tag situation whenever it required for me to be in one. Like, I'm just enjoying all of this and everything that AEW brings, and the opportunities just keep presenting themselves, and I got to thank Tony Khan for that, and I hope that they just keep coming. Whatever they are like, I'm ready to roll." Sounds like he wants Kyle O'Reilly as his tag team partner if that situation was to be arisen in AEW. Kyle O'Reilly will absolutely end up in AEW when his contract is up. Kyle O'Reilly is not re-signing with the WWE. Everybody in that company knows the direction, especially if you're in NXT, knows the direction of which the company is headed. Kyle O'Reilly does not fit that mold, so why would he put himself in the line of fire only to be fired 6 months down the line and have to go through the 90-day non-compete and then waste your time away when you can be given opportunities to continuously make money and be in the spotlight? Don't give WWE any of this. Let your contract run out, speak to TK, go to AEW. That's where you'll be. They got the best tag team division on the planet, and Red Dragon is going to be a part of that in 2022. And we are all, as a fan base, going to be benefiting from that. AEW. Speaking of AEW, Bronson Reed. He's another AEW guy that I wish would be, but that's not going to be the case. Bronson Reed was also supposed to be someone that appeared on Impact's Bound for Glory show. Now, at the time, it was reported that Bronson Reed was booked for Bound for Glory at one point, but later unbooked due to unknown reasons. Reed, now known as Jonah Rock, or simply Jonah, made an appearance on Wrestling Inc. Daily and was asked about his status as a free agent. This is where he explained that he's dealing with work visa issues. He called it a complete nightmare, but is staying positive. As he said, everything is set in stone thanks to a great set of lawyers helping him out in the process. He said he thinks in November, fans will see him around some places. Reed was asked about the reports of him originally set to be at Bound for Glory. This is where he implied that the work visa was one of the reasons he missed the show. At the moment, it's everything to do with immigration, so I'm not able to legally to do anything wrestling-wise until all my immigration is sorted, but it should be sorted very soon, and I'm happy about that. I would personally like to see him on a major platform. I think he's got a lot to offer. I'd love to see him in House of Glory, to be honest with you. I'd love to see that man in House of Glory. I think he's got a lot to offer. Hopefully we see him back in the States sooner rather than later, but he was supposed to be at Bound for Glory, and I think he would be a great fit for Impact Wrestling. Monday Night Raw. We got the rating in for Monday Night Raw, and we're winding down here because I'm kind of fading away. Now that we're talking about Raw, I'm fading away. Though, I think the show was actually better than recent weeks this week. I actually did not think Raw was terrible this week. So, Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics gave the ratings for Raw. The episode drew 1.689 million viewers on the USA Network. That is up from 1.658 million viewers the last week. The demo saw an average of 0.47, which was the same thing last week. Since there wasn't an MLB World Series game going on, WWE's biggest competition came from the NFL game that was at the top of the charts in the key demos and drew 12 million viewers on ESPN. Becky Lynch defended the Raw Women's Championship against Bianca Belair in the Open. Austin Theory versus Rey Mysterio. Carmella and Zelina Vega versus Nikki Trash and Rhea Ripley. Finn Balor versus Chad Gable. And Big E versus Kevin Owens in the main event. If you guys want my thoughts on Monday Night Raw, you guys know where to find them. The post show and the live stream are on the homepage on the channel right now. And finally, guys, Backstage. Reaction to Gable Steveson being a part of the WWE draft. As you guys know, Olympic gold medalist and NCAA champion Gable Steveson was selected in this year's WWE draft, even though he wasn't someone that had worked a single pro wrestling match yet. Steveson was one of the late picks in the draft and was sent to the Raw roster. While he wasn't at the show, he was seen reacting at his home with his parents, cheering him on in a very forced reaction-type setup. Fightful Select and Sean Ross Sapp reports Steveson was listed on the internal run sheet as being drafted. It was said that there were many surprise faces when they saw the run sheet, which actually listed him as having an entrance. It's still unclear why he didn't travel to the show. Per the report, the decision to have him a part of the draft wasn't secret, as talent, staff, and production knew the day before the show. WWE did want to keep the surprise factor for the announcement, so that's why he wasn't featured on the graphic of wrestlers to be picked. As noted, Steveson will continue full-time amateur wrestling while attending college, and he will train for the NCAA tournament. Once he graduates, then he will start full-time training at the Performance Center. In the meantime, WWE is actually setting up a training facility for him near his home. If you don't think WWE has high aspirations for him just based on that last statement, I don't know what to tell you, man. He's training with Lesnar. Everybody's high on him. I hope that they know what they're getting themselves into because not everybody's going to be able to be the next Kurt Angle. Is he going to have the charisma? Is he going to be able to grasp this? I think so, being that he's already got an in with the amateur wrestling background. But it's all about presenting yourself on TV. It's all about having that natural charisma. Does he have the timing down? Does he have some comedic background like Kurt Angle so brilliantly showed us? There's a lot that people are comparing him with to Kurt Angle. I don't think there will ever be another Kurt Angle, but if you can model yourself after Kurt Angle and really follow in the footsteps and use him as a huge inspiration and influence just based on the background, I think we're off to a good start. But I don't want to be talking about this guy until this guy physically gets into the Performance Center and starts training under the WWE banner. I don't care what type of background this guy has. Once you're there, then we can start talking. But WWE is already in the process of maybe bringing this guy in. Maybe at one point, we're going to see him and Lesnar in the ring, and they're going to use Lesnar to get him over, being that they're so closely linked. So we'll see what happens there, but that was the backstage reaction to Gable Steveson being a part of this year's WWE draft. Guys, I am finished for the day. That is all I got on Off the Script. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please let me know down below. Let me know what you think of all the recent WWE releases and all the stories coming out of Thursday's fire sale. Make sure you guys leave a comment down below. The comment section is yours to spread whatever type of opinion you want. And make sure you guys follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's Twitter and Instagram to keep up to date on everything that happens on the channel. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. Make sure you guys go check out all of the other content on the channel right there on the homepage. Once again, today sponsored by Blue Chew. BlueChew.com. Use code JD at checkout for your free sample. Make sure you guys go out and support as well. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Make sure you guys go get your t-shirts. Bonfire.com is the home of the podcast. And please hit that thumbs up. Let's try for 1,500 likes on today's video. Guys, I'm getting out of here. I will see you all back here on Monday with a brand new week of content. I'll be live on YouTube for Monday Night Raw as usual. Until then, guys, thank you so very much. This is Off the Script. I'm JD, and I'll see you back on Monday with the live stream following Monday Night Raw. See you guys later.